All right, well, Ireland may have just approved gay marriage, and for all we know, our Supreme Court could follow suit later this summer. But for most folks' money, the supreme issue that matters is how the highest court rules on those health care subsidies, because gay or straight, this one stands to very much affect us all. And doesn't former Massachusetts governor and presidential candidate Michael Dukakis know it and fear it? Now, Governor, always good to have you, sir. Now, your fear, I guess, would be if the subsidies are ruled unconstitutional, then all of a sudden we're back, to the starting board here, and that could be problematic. Explain.
So, Neil, it's even worse, because now we have millions of Americans who are finally getting decent, affordable health care, and presumably they will lose it. So this is not kind of going back to where we were, and I certainly hope the court makes the right decision. I mean, you cannot look at the legislative history of this law and come to the conclusion that it should not be effective.
All right, well, obviously the justices are taking up this issue, so there's enough sentiment that it is not legal. I'm not a lawyer myself, but I've watched enough law shows, Governor, to qualify. So, having said that, I'm wondering then what is the fallout and what you think Republicans then have to do, because the argument I'm getting from a lot of Democrats is the onus will be on them to help out those 7 or 8 million Americans who benefit from these subsidies. One idea being broached is maybe keep them in effect through 2017. What do you make of that?
Well, look, the onus is on all of us. It's about time working Americans and their families had decent, affordable health care, and the vast majority of uninsured people in this country are working, Neil, and members of working families. So I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. It seems to me that making sure that these folks have decent, affordable health care makes sense. And frankly, while I'm very troubled by this court, I mean, the decision in the Affordable Care in the original case that it was unconstitutionally coercive to require the states as a condition for continuing to receive Medicaid money to expand Medicaid is preposterous. But we got it in that decision. So we'll see.
They got to do something for these 7 or 8 million, to your point. The other question is, though, while it has been beneficial to those who didn't have insurance before who now do, you also hear from millions of others who've seen their premiums rocket because of the requirements under the health care law right now that everybody be covered for pretty much everything. All well and good, but the sticker shock is real, even outside this pool of 7 or 8 million people. Do you think the administration and in general, the left was caught off guard by the severity of those increases?
What increases? What are we talking about here?
Premiums that have gone up on average 28%.
Well, that's not true. I mean, health costs are relatively low under the new law. I mean, the rate of increase in health inflation, Neil, under the new law is way below what it was supposed to be.
I'm talking simple premiums, Governor. I mean, and by the way, you're mentioning, the rate of increase that is a delayed effect of a recession, right?
Well, some of that is, but not all of it. I mean, there are some very important provisions in the law that have kept costs down, but we're not having skyrocketing premium increases in my state, and I think we're having them in most states.
But as you know, Governor, looking at just the Wall Street Journal today, the New York Times today, talking about those who do not qualify for these subsidies that are the source of debate at the Supreme Court, they are paying more. They are paying more for that. Now, that shouldn't be a surprise if you're going to include pre-existing conditions and you are going to cover people across the board, that obviously that's going to cost you. I think that the reality for the left, as well as those who are hoping to mitigate this, is how you correct that. So is the real problem not so much what ultimately happens to these 7 or 8 million subsidized health beneficiaries, but all the rest who are not liking these unpleasant surprises?
Well, I don't know where the surprises are, Neil. All I can tell you is that premiums are not skyrocketing in my state, and I don't think they're skyrocketing in most states.
All right, but
I don't know what.
Okay, I don't know to get an argument on arguing these facts. I will ask you this. If it looks like the subsidies go and we have to make up for them to keep these people insured, if Republicans offer a scale-back plan that would not cover everything, and that the reality might be that we can't cover everything and it was unrealistic to cover everything, what would you think of that?
Well, there are lots of ways to cut costs that we aren't even trying these days. I mean, our health insurance system is the most administratively complicated system in the world. 25 cents of every premium dollar, Neil, goes for administrative overhead. No other healthcare system in the world has that kind of overhead cost. And there are plenty of ways that
But
you
haven't
can
we switched overhead, Governor? I mean, we've just gone from, let's say, a private enterprise overhead to a public government overhead, state exchanges that might be forced to merge or go to the federal exchange to address that overhead. Aren't we just switching overhead?
No, but I'm just talking about the health insurance system generally. You want to save money and reduce premiums, get that administrative overhead out of there. And there are plenty of ways to do that. Simplify the system, take a whole series of administrative actions that could eliminate an enormous amount of waste. I mean, 25 cents of every premium dollar. Think about it. Medicare takes 3.5 cents. There's an enormous room for savings there.
Governor, real quickly, Bernie Sanders today is now zeroing in on Hillary Clinton as being one of those fat cats, and I'm paraphrasing here, says that we need a top rate of 90%, that it worked fine when we had a top rate of 90%. We need to go back there. What do you think of that?
I don't agree with that. I think we need a tax system that is fair. I think we should be eliminating a lot of loopholes. I mean, you go back to the Reagan era when Congressman Rostenkowski and President Reagan put together a tax reform package which eliminated a lot of that stuff. Regrettably, it's back. I mean, there's something about this world that keeps carving loopholes into tax codes. But
what is
no,
an acceptable rate, a
rate.
top rate then, to Michael Dukakis? I mean, is it 40%? Is it 45%?
I think where we are now is acceptable. I don't agree that there ought to be a differential rate for dividends and capital gains, nor did Ronald Reagan, by the way.
Right.
But I think we're about where we should be, and we ought to stick with it. I don't think we ought to be going to 90 or 80 or 70. I don't think that makes sense.
Do you think he's going to push Hillary Clinton closer to that figure, though, or the left will push her closer to these type of views?
No, I don't think so.
All right, try to answer my question next time. You were very clear on that. All right, Governor, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very, very much.
Neil, a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Michael Dukakis. Meanwhile,